This is unreal. This is unreal. And I would never see my daughter again because of this monster.
Behind a concealed wall in a dirty attic, police made a discovery so horrific, even experienced detectives struggled to process what they found. A young woman's body, dismembered, hidden where no one was supposed to look. Her name was Renia Lewis. She was 28 years old, just days away from her 29th birthday. She had gone to Vallejo, California to visit her family, something she did all the time. It was supposed to be a normal weekend. But Renia never came home. For 48 hours, her mother posted desperate pleas on Facebook, begging anyone for information. Her family tracked her phone to an abandoned house on 14th Street. They searched garbage cans. They walked the streets calling her name. The police launched a massive search. And then, on Tuesday, September 30th, 2025, detectives found her, concealed behind a secret entrance in an attic that belonged to a man she barely knew. A man who would later confess to killing her. But the question that haunts everyone is this: how did Renia end up there? And why did he do it? This is the story of Renia Lewis and the monster who took her life.
And new at 11 here, a tragic discovery in the city of Vallejo. Police confirming the body of a missing woman has been found hidden inside the wall of a home.
Welcome to our channel. Right now, there are thousands of women like Renia who could be in danger without even knowing it. Women who trust the wrong person, who end up in the wrong place, or who ignore warning signs that could save their lives. If you want to help spread awareness about violence against women and the red flags that could prevent tragedies like this, then please like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. Your action now could help protect another woman who might be facing danger. Let's get into Renia's story. Renia was 28 years old, born and raised in the Bay Area of California. She spent most of her life between Berkeley and Vallejo, surrounded by family and friends who loved her deeply. She was an entrepreneur with big dreams and an even bigger heart. Those who knew her described her as sweet, warm, and incredibly kind. The type of person who lit up a room just by walking into it. Renia was only days away from celebrating her 29th birthday. She had her whole life ahead of her. Her family meant everything to her. She had a close bond with her mother, Terry Lewis. Terry and Renia talked regularly, and Renia made it a point to visit her family often. It wasn't unusual for her to drive to Vallejo just to spend time with the people she loved. Family wasn't just important to Renia. It was her foundation. Renia wasn't just loved by her immediate family. She had strong ties to her community. Friends and neighbors knew her as someone who was genuine and caring. She was the kind of person who checked in on people, who showed up when it mattered, who made others feel seen and valued. But beyond all of that, Renia was a young woman trying to build a life for herself. She was working hard as an entrepreneur, chasing her goals and planning for her future. She had dreams, she had plans, she had people who needed her and people she needed. And then, in an instant, all of that was taken away. After Renia's death, her mother, Terry, spoke through tears about the pain of losing her daughter. "This is unreal, so unreal," she said. "I will never see my daughter again because of this monster."
This is unreal. This is unreal. And I would never see my daughter again because of this monster.
Terry also said something that stuck with everyone who heard it. She was a grown woman. What choices she made was on her. I still love her.
She was a grown woman. What choices she made was on her. I still love her, no matter what.
Those words carry so much weight. They show a mother's unconditional love, even in the face of unimaginable grief. Terry didn't care about the circumstances or the questions people might ask. She loved her daughter, and nothing would ever change that. Renia Lewis wasn't just a name in a news report. She wasn't just another victim in a true crime case. She was a real person with a real life, real relationships, and real dreams. She was a daughter, a cousin, a friend, and a member of a community that cared about her. And she deserved so much better than what happened to her. Friday, September 26, 2025, started like any other day for Renia Lewis. She was in Vallejo to visit her family, something she did regularly. It was a routine trip, nothing out of the ordinary. She planned to spend time with her loved ones, catch up, and then head back home. No one could have known that this would be the last time anyone would see Renia alive. Friday evening came and went. Renia was seen that night, but after that things became unclear. Her family expected to hear from her, but as the hours passed, communication started to fade. By Sunday, September 28th, panic set in. Renia's mother, Terry Lewis, hadn't heard from her daughter in 2 days. Calls went unanswered. Text messages were left on read or not delivered at all. This wasn't like Renia. She always stayed in touch with her family. She always let them know where she was. Terry knew something was terribly wrong. That Sunday, Terry took to Facebook and posted a desperate plea for help. Her words were raw and filled with fear. My daughter Renia hasn't been seen in 2 days. Life 360 had her at 14th Street in Vallejo. Her phone is now dead. Please pray for us in finding her. If anyone has seen her, please contact me at the Vallejo police station. Life 360 is a location-sharing app that families use to keep track of each other. Terry had been checking it constantly, hoping for any sign of where her daughter might be. The app showed that Renia's phone had last pinged near 14th Street in Vallejo. But then, the phone went dead. No more signal, no more updates, just silence. Terry and the rest of Renia's family didn't wait around. They immediately sprang into action. They drove to the area where her phone had last been detected. They walked the streets, calling out her name. They checked garbage cans, looked in alleys, knocked on doors, and asked anyone they could find if they had seen Renia. Her cousin Jacob Green was right there with them, searching desperately for any clue that might lead them to her. The family was doing everything they could, but nothing was turning up. On that same Sunday, Terry filed a missing persons report with the Vallejo Police Department. The police took the case seriously and assigned multiple officers to the search. They knew that time was critical. The longer someone is missing, the harder it becomes to find them. The investigation led officers to a home on 14th Street, the last place Renia's phone had pinged before going dark. It was an old, run-down property. The main house had been boarded up for a long time, and neighbors said it looked abandoned. But there was a detached unit in the back, a shed that had been converted into living space. Officers conducted a welfare check at the property. They searched rooms, closets, and any place someone might hide. But they found nothing. No sign of Renia. No clues. Nothing. The family was devastated. Where could she be? How could someone just disappear like that? As Sunday turned into Monday, the fear only grew stronger. Renia had now been missing for more than 48 hours. Her phone was dead. No one had seen her, and despite the family's best efforts and the police investigation, there were still no answers. Something was very, very wrong. And deep down, everyone feared the worst. The Vallejo Police Department didn't waste any time. As soon as Terry Lewis filed the missing persons report on Sunday, September 28th, officers jumped into action. They knew that in cases like this, every minute counts. The investigation quickly led them to a property on 14th Street, near Star Avenue. This was the last place Renia's phone had pinged before it went dead. If there were any answers to be found, they would likely be here. But when officers arrived at the property, what they saw wasn't promising. The main house had been boarded up for a long time. It looked neglected and abandoned. Neighbors said the place had been like that for years, but behind the main house there was a detached unit, a shed that had been converted into a living space. Someone was staying there. Officers conducted a welfare check, hoping to find Renia or at least some clue about where she might be. They searched the property carefully. They looked through rooms, checked closets, and examined any place where someone could hide or be hidden. But they found nothing. No sign of Renia, no evidence that she had ever been there. The search came up empty. For Renia's family, this was crushing. They had hoped the police would find her at that house. They had hoped she would be okay. But now, with no leads and no answers, their desperation only grew. Where was Renia? What had happened to her? By Monday, September 29th, the case had escalated. The Vallejo Police Department knew they needed more help. They reached out to the California Highway Patrol and requested that an alert be issued for Renia Lewis. The alert for Renia went out across California. Her photo, description, and last known location were shared widely. The hope was that someone somewhere had seen her and could provide information. But the Vallejo police didn't stop there. They also reached out to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. The FBI has access to expert resources, advanced technology, and investigative support that local police departments sometimes don't have. In a statement, the Vallejo police said, the FBI was helpful in lending expert resources and investigative support to this case. Meanwhile, the community was mobilizing. Neighbors, friends, and even people who didn't know Renia personally joined the search. They walked the streets, posted flyers, and shared information on social media. Everyone wanted to help bring Renia home. But as Monday turned into Tuesday, the clock kept ticking. It had now been more than 3 days since anyone had heard from Renia. Her phone was still dead. There were still no solid leads. The family was exhausted, terrified, and heartbroken. They couldn't eat, they couldn't sleep. All they could think about was finding Renia. The police were working around the clock, following every lead, checking every tip that came in. But so far, nothing had brought them closer to finding her. And then, on Tuesday, September 30th, detectives received new information, something that made them take another, much closer look at that house on 14th Street. This time, they weren't just going to do a welfare check. This time, they were coming with a search warrant. At this point, investigators knew they were running out of time. Before we continue, I want to hear what you think. What do you believe happened to Renia? Do you think she knew her killer, or was this a random encounter? Share your theories in the comments below. If you're finding this case as disturbing as I am, please hit that like button and share this video to help spread awareness about Renia's story. Cases like this need attention, and your support helps make sure her story is heard. Now, let's get back to what happened next, because what detectives found will shock you. Tuesday, September 30th, 2025 was the day everything changed. Detectives from the Vallejo Police Department returned to the property on 14th Street, but this time they had a search warrant. They had received new information that made them believe they needed to look more carefully. They weren't going to leave until they found answers. The property was the same as before, boarded up, neglected, with that detached shed unit in the back. But this time, the detectives searched more thoroughly. They weren't just checking rooms and closets. They were looking for anything that seemed out of place, anything that had been hidden. And then they found it. A concealed entry, a hidden access point that led to the attic. It wasn't obvious. It had been covered up, designed so that no one would notice it unless they were specifically looking for it. But the detectives found it and they went inside. What they discovered in that attic was beyond horrific. Renia Lewis's body was there, but she hadn't just been killed. She had been dismembered. Her remains had been hidden in that attic, concealed behind a wall where no one was supposed to find them. Even experienced detectives, people who had seen terrible things before, struggled to process what they were looking at. This wasn't just a murder. This was something brutal, something cruel. something that showed a complete lack of humanity. Renia's mother, Terry Lewis, was at the scene when her daughter's body was found. No parent should ever have to go through what she went through that day. The pain, the shock, the disbelief, it was all too much. Through tears, Terry spoke to reporters. Her words were filled with grief and anger. "He's a monster," she said. News of Renia's death spread quickly through the Vallejo community. People were shocked. They were heartbroken. They couldn't believe something so terrible had happened so close to home. Neighbors and community members began showing up at the property on 14th Street. They brought flowers, candles, and notes. They created a memorial for Renia, a place where people could come to remember her and honor her life. This was Vallejo's 14th homicide of 2025. 14 lives lost to violence in one city in less than a year. But for Renia's family, this wasn't just a number. This was their daughter, their cousin, their loved one. The senselessness of it all was overwhelming. Renia had been visiting family. She had been doing something normal, something she had done countless times before. And somehow she had ended up in the hands of a killer. The brutality of what was done to her made it even harder to understand. Why would someone do this? What kind of person could commit such an act? Those questions haunted everyone who heard Renia's story. Once Renia's body was found, investigators quickly identified a suspect. Douglas Irwin Shaw, a 41-year-old man who lived in the detached shed unit behind the house on 14th Street. Shaw worked as a mechanic at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo. He was a father of 2 daughters. To people who didn't know him well, he might have seemed like just another person trying to get by. But those who knew him better had a very different story to tell. Shaw lived in terrible conditions. The shed unit where he stayed was run down and dirty. It wasn't a place most people would choose to live. But it was there, in that hidden attic above his living space, that Renia's body was found. Shaw had a dark history that was starting to come to light. In 2023, an ex-girlfriend of his had taken out a restraining order against him. She had met Shaw while they both worked at Six Flags. At first, things seemed fine, but over time, she saw a side of him that frightened her. The ex-girlfriend and her father both spoke to reporters after Shaw's arrest. They described him as a narcissist, someone who thought he was always right and everyone else was always wrong. They said he had controlling behavior and that being around him felt dangerous. The restraining order was a clear warning sign, but now, 2 years later, Shaw was being accused of something far worse. On Tuesday, September 30th, after Renia's body was discovered, police moved quickly to arrest Shaw. They found him at his workplace at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Officers took him into custody without any incident. He didn't resist. He didn't try to run. And then, during questioning, Shaw did something that shocked investigators. He confessed. Shaw admitted that he was responsible for Renia's death. He told detectives that he had killed her. The confession gave police the confirmation they needed, but it didn't answer the biggest question on everyone's mind. Why? Shaw was booked into Solano County Jail on suspicion of murder. He is being held without bail, meaning he will remain in custody until his trial. His next court appearance was scheduled for Thursday, just 2 days after his arrest. But even with Shaw in custody and a confession on record, there was still so much that didn't make sense. Authorities and Renia's family both said that Shaw and Renia were not in a relationship. In fact, they may have only recently met, if they had met at all, before that weekend. Renia's family was clear about this. They said Renia did not know Shaw. There was no prior connection between them, no history, no reason for their paths to cross. So how did Renia end up in his attic? How did a young woman visiting her family end up dead in the home of a man she didn't know? Those questions remain unanswered. Shaw confessed to the killing, but he hasn't explained why he did it or how Renia ended up at his property in the first place. And that mystery is what makes this case even more terrifying. So what happened? Did Renia and Shaw meet that night? If so, how? Where? And why would she go with him? Was this something Shaw had planned? Or did it happen spontaneously? Did he target Renia specifically? Or was she just in the wrong place at the wrong time? What was his motive? Why did he kill her? And why was the crime so brutal? These are the questions that haunt Renia's family and the community. But so far, police have not disclosed a motive. Shaw confessed to the killing, but he hasn't explained why he did it. That randomness makes this case even more terrifying. If there was no connection between Renia and Shaw, if this was truly random, then it means any woman could have been targeted. It could have been anyone. That thought is chilling. Renia was just visiting her family. She was doing something normal, something safe. And yet, she ended up dead in the attic of a stranger's home. The lack of answers doesn't just leave questions. It leaves fear, and it reminds us all how fragile safety can be. The Vallejo community rallied around Renia's family in the days following her death. People who had never met her came to the memorial on 14th Street bringing flowers, candles, and tributes. They wanted to show that Renia's life mattered. Police Chief Jason Ta released a statement calling the crime a heartbreaking, senseless act of violence. He expressed pride in the officers and detectives who worked tirelessly to solve the case and bring Shaw into custody. Renia's mother, Terry, made her feelings clear about what should happen to Shaw. He needs to get life so he can sit there and suffer, she said. Her words reflected the pain and anger of a mother who lost her daughter in the most horrific way possible. Terry and the rest of Renia's family are still searching for answers, still trying to understand how this could have happened. The void left by Renia's death is immense. Her family will never be the same, and the Vallejo community is left dealing with the trauma of knowing such violence happened in their neighborhood. How can we prevent tragedies like this? While we can't eliminate every risk, there are steps we can take to stay safer and protect our loved ones. Use location-sharing apps like Life360 or Find My Friends. These tools helped Renia's family track her last known location. Check in regularly with loved ones, especially when traveling. Don't wait to report someone missing. Renia's family acted immediately, and that quick response helped police focus their search. Ebony alerts and Amber alerts save lives by spreading information fast. Shaw had a restraining order against him in 2023. His ex-girlfriend saw warning signs. Take protective orders seriously and report concerning behavior to authorities. The property where Renia was found had been neglected for years. Communities should monitor abandoned or rundown properties and support neighborhood watch programs. Trust your instincts. Share your location with trusted contacts. Avoid isolated or suspicious locations, especially when alone. Families like Renia's need counseling, community support, and financial assistance to cope with their loss. These steps won't prevent every tragedy, but they can make a difference. Stay aware, stay connected, and look out for one another. Renia Lewis was just 28 years old when her life was cut short. She was days away from her 29th birthday. She had dreams, plans, and a family that loved her deeply. But all of that was taken away in the most horrific way imaginable. Douglas Irwin Shaw confessed to killing her, but he hasn't given a clear motive. We still don't know why he did it or how Renia ended up at his property. Those answers may come during his trial. Shaw's next court appearance was scheduled for Thursday, just 2 days after his arrest. He's being held without bail at Solano County Jail, and the legal process is just beginning. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Douglas Shaw will face the death penalty, or will he get life in prison? What would justice look like for Renia's family? Let me know in the comments. If this case affected you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on this case or others like it. Share this video to help keep Renia's memory alive and to raise awareness about violence against women. Renia Lewis was a daughter, a cousin, a friend, and a beloved member of her community. She deserved so much more than the horrific end she met. Rest in peace, Renia. We will not forget you. Until next time, stay safe, look out for one another, and remember, justice delayed is not justice denied. Thank you for watching.